thank you. Wow, this is great. Unbelievable. What a group of people. Incredible. You know, we love Jacksonville, and I'll tell you a little story. I had a boat, but it wasn't a pleasure boat because I'm always working like, I shouldn't, but I love it, right? But I had a casino boat built here. It did great. We sold it, made a lot of money, so I love Jacksonville. I love it. True. Great place, great people. We broke a record today. This is a record, and it's one hell of a beautiful place, isn't it? Isn't this nice? I just met a very rich guy, the owner of this big monster. Where the hell is he with his family? So amazing. They've treated me so good. Lenny Curry's been great. Everybody's been great. And I just want to thank everybody for being here. This is happening. This is happening all over. It's happening all over. No matter where I go, it's a message, and it's a movement. It's a movement. This is more than just like Donald Trump shows up, he speaks, he leaves. We're going to do something that's going to be so unbelievable. The whole world is talking about it. The whole world is talking about it. And we have to fight the media, constantly fighting the media. It's a constant battle. Because, they don't want it to happen. They don't want to see it happening. No matter what it is. Last night at Trump National Doral, I love that place. I love it. But we had an incredible group of people. Same thing, such enthusiasm. They want to make America great again. It's simple. It's a very good and a very simple message. The American dream is back. We're going to bring it back bigger, better, stronger than ever before. And we're going to make America great again. Now, I have to tell you, I love the Blue Angels. I hear they're around someplace. I love the Blue Angels. I love the Blue Angels. I do. So, a lot of things have happened over the last few days, and I have been the brunt of more bad press. For what? You know why? So let me tell you why. You know I love polls. I love polls. I'm in love with polls. When I did The Apprentice, I had the #1. I was in love with ratings. And even now, I'm in love. And it's good for us because when I go on these television shows, so last week, Chris Wallace, I did his show. He had his highest ratings in 6.5 years. That's great. That's on Fox. And then Meet the Press had their highest ratings. They had almost 4 million people. And Stephanopoulos had his highest ratings. And Face the Nation. And you know what it does? It gives us all power. And the reason we're getting those ratings is because people want to hear the message. It's an amazing message. And you know what it is? It's basically saying we're going to go out, we're going to work, we're going to get rid of all of these horrible restrictions. We are going to get the country, we're going to make it dynamic. You've seen my tax plan. The tax plan cuts taxes. We are right now the highest taxed nation in the world. And by the way, education, we're 28th in education. We have by far the most per student, per capita. We spend more money per student than any other country in the world. In the world, we're number 28 for education. Think of it. Just think of it. We have third world nations that do better than us on education because Jeb Bush and other people, they want to see education coming out of Washington, D.C. instead of locally. They like Common Core, and we can't have Common Core. We can't have Common Core. But I put in a tax plan, and it's been really well received by a lot of people. And it brings corporate rates down to 15%. It's a big simplification. Some of my friends that own hedge funds are not exactly in love with me because I take away the carried interest, which is a little complicated, but it means not good for them. Who cares? They make it a lot of money. And remember, I'm self-funding my campaign. Very important. Very important. So when they come to me and they say, Donald, what are you doing? I say, I don't care. I got to do the right thing. The only people I'm going to be working for is right out here, all over the country. All over the country. And a big thing happened because a lot of PACs, you know what PACs are? It's a crooked business, a bad business. But they have now super PACs. These are supers, super dupers. They call them super duper PACs. And they put up millions and millions of dollars in these PACs. And those PACs control the candidates. Okay? They totally control. Carson is controlled by his PAC. Bush is controlled by his PAC. Rubio is controlled by his PAC, and he needs a lot of water on top of everything else. Did you ever see a guy sweat like Rubio? I've never seen anything like that. But they're controlled by their PACs. And what happened is many PACs were set up. Trump, one of them had the Art of the Deal PAC, another PAC. I turn on television, I see these guys, and you know what? They look okay. Who knows? But they say, oh, we love Trump, and we wanted this, and they want to raise money. I don't know what happens to that money once it's raised. I know too much about business to think positively. So I can just see one of these guys that doesn't have 10 cents, and all of a sudden he raises $2 million under a super PAC. Hey, I'd love it if it was spent to me, but I still don't want it. But I can imagine where the money goes. But worse are the super PACs that are set up for candidates where they go out and run campaigns like, if you look honestly, Carson in Iowa, being run by a super PACs. Bush all over. Bush now has got to cut back. Because think of this. Here's a guy wants to run our country, and he can't even run his own campaign. No, think of it. And you know what? He's cutting back big. He's cutting back 40%. And everybody's agreed to take a 40% cut. All of his people. I mean, I have like a few people. What do you need these people for? In fact, I'm very proud of something. I'm putting up, and I'll be putting up a lot of money. Don't worry, it's not cheap to do this. But so far, I put up less money than anybody else, and I'm number one. And other guys have spent, oh, think of it. Think of it. So I put up less money than anybody else, and I'm number one. Other people have spent 25, 30. I think they reported the other day, I put up $2 million, I think. That's a good deal, right? $2 million, you're number one. I could trade that to one of these other candidates that have spent many times that money, and they're at zero. Zero. You have a couple of them, zero with an arrow pointing less, which means less than zero, and I don't even know what that means. But if you think about it, because that's what we have to do for our country. I'm not doing that in a braggadocious way. I don't care. I'll put up as much money as I need. I'm not going anywhere. That I can tell you. That I can tell you. I'm going to stay. I'm meeting the most incredible people, people like you. I mean, I'm meeting the most incredible people. So what happens is I put up, and there was a big story. Hillary's like in for $32 million. Bush is in for a fortune. Rubio's running out of money. He's got no money. He's running out. He spent much more than me. He's running out of money and not doing well. All of these people are spending money. And what I'm saying is that wouldn't it be nice if we had a country that would spend the least and be number one? Think of it. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? You know, it's very funny. I told my campaign people, I have very good people, nice people, great people. But I said, I don't like to talk about how little I put up because it sounds bad. They said, no, actually, it sounds good. It sounds good. But the truth is, and I have to say another thing. When you lease a plane, you have to pay it back. So a lot of the money that I spent, I lease it, I have to pay it back because the campaign has to lease. You have rules and regulations. So we go to the FEC and we say, what do you do here? Well, you have to take market value, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's all a process. And you pay it back. So a lot of the money that I'm putting up, I'm paying and then I'm paying myself back. Can you believe it? I might be into this sucker for nothing. They've never had anybody that owned a Boeing 757 before. It's a little bit of an unusual thing. They've never had it. And by the way, Boeing now is building in China a massive plant. So think of it. They're building a massive plant because China just put in a big order of planes and they said, you're going to build a massive plant and we're, by the way, going to take all of your technology. That didn't bother me because they take it anyway. You know, they take it anyway, whether you give it to them or not. But China is demanding that Boeing and everybody else build massive plants. So there's no free trade, folks. There's no free trade. There's free trade for us. I call it stupid trade. And I'm a free trader. The problem with free trade is that you need really smart people representing you. Because we are getting ripped off like you wouldn't believe. We're being ripped off like you wouldn't believe. So I'm going to finish a couple of things. Then we're going to talk about trade. We're going to talk about illegal immigration. We're going to talk about Obamacare. Think about Obamacare. Your premiums are up 45, 55%. Your deductibles, you have to die before you get any money, and then you're not going to get it. You can't get it. I know a friend, he said, I had 4 major operations. He still doesn't qualify. You can't get it. It's a disaster. The $5 billion website, think of it. Nobody talks about it anymore. You know, the problem is everybody forgets quickly. You know, the public, and for some reason, they talk about an attention span of a couple of weeks. I'm not going to let people forget. I'm not going to let people forget. Think about it. And the reason, in all fairness to everybody, the reason you forget is because we have so many other problems. We never win. We just don't win. We never win anymore. We're going to have so many victories. If I win, we're going to have so many victories. We're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to win against China. We're going to win against Japan. We're going to win against Mexico. And by the way, I love the Mexican people, but their leaders are ripping off our country. They are ripping off our country. We're going to win against Brazil and Vietnam. We're going to win. I can take anybody in this massive audience, and I can say, where do you originally come from? Your parents, your grandparents. And they'll give me a name, and I'll say, that country's ripping us off. Everybody is ripping us off. Every country is ripping us off. Every single country. So we're not going to let it happen anymore. We don't win on trade. We can't even beat ISIS. Think of it. We can't beat ISIS. So we are going to strengthen our military. General Ordiano. Nobody's going to mess with us. Nobody. Nobody's going to mess with us. I'm going to talk about my favorite subject because I love them, polls. I love them. I'm going to talk about it for a second. But one of the things in one of the polls, CNN poll, and I have to be telling the truth because I have CNN. Look at that camera on me, right? And you know what? They never cover the audience. Nobody has any idea. I got home and I said this the other night, and I could say spin and show the audience, and the camera stays right on my face. And I say spin, show the people. But I get home the other night, we had a fantastic crowd in New Hampshire. We had another fantastic crowd, an unbelievable crowd in Virginia. We're all over. We always have crowds. They're overflow crowds like this. And the camera never moves. You know, I really think I'm a handsome guy, but I really want to see the crowd, right? The camera never moves. And I say fan, you know the word fan? And I watch them. And the cameras, these guys are like steel because they're told don't move. So I get home the other night, my wife said, how was the crowd? Your speech looked good. I said, what do you mean the crowd? You didn't see it? No, they didn't show the crowd. I heard people, but they never showed the crowd. They just show your face and that's it. They never move. They do that on purpose. They do that on purpose. They're really, let me tell you, They're really dishonest people. Where's that Wall Street Journal? Hope, where's the Wall Street Journal? Where is the Wall Street Journal? Where? That's called having good people. See, we need good people. So look at the size of this paper. Look how small it is. Remember when it was big and beautiful and rich? You know, they bought the Wall Street Journal for $5 billion a few years ago. Now it's worth $500 million. And then they do an editorial criticizing my tax plan. Think of it. But here's the beauty, because we're going to go over it in a second. So I say, oh, gee, I mean, honestly, Bush is failing. He's a very nice person. Highly low on energy. He really is. He's low. He's low. He's low on energy. But he's a nice person. By the way, Carson is super low. I don't understand the whole deal. I don't know what's going on. Carson is lower energy than Bush. I don't understand what's going on, because we're going to talk about the fact that for the first time in 100 days, I had a poll that said, I'm in second place in Iowa. Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. Only in Iowa. The rest we're killing. And we'll talk about it. So what happens, actually, we'll talk about that for a second. Then I'll show you what they write, just to show you how dishonest these people are. So the polls come out, and I have great news, little bad news. I mean, you know, I'm entitled to a little bad news, right? My company's unbelievable. We're doing well. We're going to put that same brain power. You know, when I said I was going to run, everyone said, oh, probably not, because he won't want to file, because maybe he's not as rich as people think. So when I filed, I was much richer, much richer. So I built a great company. Very low debt, tremendous cash flow, some of the greatest assets in the world, and I'm not bragging. I'm only saying it because that's the kind of thinking we need to run our country. The kind of thinking we need. Oh, do we need that thinking? These people. These people. So, I get the news on Friday. Great poll, ABC, Washington Post, just comes out. Big, big poll, ABC, you can't do better. ABC, Washington Post, right? I'm killing everybody. I'm at 32, way up from the previous. In New Hampshire, I get this incredible poll. I think I'm 20 points above number 2. Great, nobody wants to say that. In New Jersey, I'm killing everybody, including the governor. I'm at 28 or 29. The governor, who's a nice guy, he's a friend of mine, Chris Christie, he's at 5. In Nevada, I'm number 1 by so much, it's embarrassing. I won't tell you how much because it's embarrassing. But here's the thing. In Nevada, just came out, I'm number 1 with Hispanics because they know I'm going to put people to work. I'm going to bring jobs back. The Hispanics last night, at Doral, you know Doral, it's in Miami, it's a great place, one of the great places. I took it, it was a sick puppy. And a man came up to me. I mean, everybody always made money with Doral. The Wall Street guys did. Buy it and sell it 3 years later and make $100 million. Buy it, sell it, buy it, sell it. Then the market crashed it's like musical chairs. Then I bought it for a really good price, right? And I was making a speech, I fixed it, made it great. And a man came up to me yesterday, he said, you know, Mr. Trump, I've been coming to this place for 25 years. If you can do the same job for the United States of America as you did making this place incredible, because it's the best resort in the country now, he said, wow, would that be something? I said, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. So, number 1 in New Jersey, number 1 in Florida. Trump is number 1. Rubio way behind. I mean, you talk about a guy who's sweating. Now he's really sweating. He's a very ambitious guy. He was very disloyal. I have to tell you about Rubio. He was very disloyal to Bush because everybody admits that Bush was his mentor, right? And everybody said he'll never run. Even I thought he'll never run because Bush was his mentor. and maybe it's Bush's time. So until we got to really know Bush and watched him perform, we all sort of liked him. I liked him too. What's not to like? Okay? Putin is saying, oh, I love Bush. Putin will love Bush. And he'll love Hillary. Will he push Hillary around? Will he push Hillary around? Oh, Hillary. So anyway, so they all said that Rubio will never run. He's a very ambitious guy, so he decides to run. So those two guys are fighting like crazy, and I'm laughing watching them fight. So I'm number one in Florida, number one in South Carolina by a lot, number one in North Carolina, number one in Ohio against, think of it, against another very good guy named Kasich. He's a good guy. He's the governor of Ohio. I'm number one. Everybody said, oh, if you use the governor of Ohio, you'll win Ohio. But I'm number one by a lot. It's not even close, right? You know that. So I'm number one in Ohio. Listen to this. Number one in Massachusetts. But listen to the number. Now remember, we started out with 17 people. Too many. It's ridiculous. I mean, why don't like 10 of these people just get out? They have no chance. So ridiculous. They think it's good for their brand. I think it's terrible for their brand, okay? I mean, a guy like Pataki, who's a lousy governor, he's got zero, and he keeps running. And then he tells people, I'm not a nice person. And by the way, I am a nice person. But we don't need nice. We need competent now. We need really competent. What a dope he is. Okay. They should get out, go back to their family, retire, enjoy your life. So listen to this one. Number one in Massachusetts, but listen. 48%. 48%. I think I'm 34 points above number two. Massachusetts, great state, big state. Now, Tom Brady does love me. I know that. But he's my golfing partner. You always want Tom Brady as your golfing partner. But he said, I always want Trump as my partner. That was a good set. That could have an impact on Massachusetts. I don't know. But you know what? Number one in Massachusetts. So here's what happens. So Bush has no money. He's cutting. He's meeting today with mommy and daddy. And they're working on their campaign. Okay? They're working. And in all fairness, he wants to stay in. But I have some numbers. He's cutting everybody 40% across the board. And everybody's agreeing to it. So me as a businessman, we have a lot of business people here. Me as a businessman said, well, if he's cutting everybody 40% and every single person has agreed to it, why didn't he make that deal in the first place, right? Does that make sense? In other words, if he's going to cut 40%, you make the deal in the first place. You don't wait till you're failing. So he's failing. Then he's got a finance director. Listen to this one. A finance director for a political campaign where he's losing badly and embarrassing his family. He's got a finance director who got paid already $1.3 million. Can you believe it? I mean, I have good people. My people are better than them. I pay them peanuts. Corey, you're getting paid peanuts. I don't pay like that. I can't. I can't mentally. You know? So I have all these polls. Now, that's the good news. Let me give you the bad news. So, and I don't actually believe it, because I was in Iowa the other night, and I had a crowd that was unbelievable. And I left Iowa. It was like a love fest, like this. It's a love fest, because they love the message. It's not, and I don't even know, maybe they like me. I think people do like me. You know, I like people. But they like the message, right? So I'm in Iowa. We have an unbelievable, I come home, let me give you the bad news. I'm number two in Iowa. I said, I don't believe it. One's Bloomberg, they hate me. The other one is a super liberal newspaper, the Des Moines Register, which is third rate, totally third rate, not respected in Iowa. It's a third rate, crummy newspaper. So I got these two polls. Bloomberg hates me. Don't forget, Michael did want to run for president. Remember that. But he's totally against the Second Amendment, so it's no good. Can't run. I'm for the Second Amendment, folks. Remember that. Remember. But Michael, who I like, but he's always wanted to run. But, You can't. And then he started doing the thing with the colas. You know, you can only have a thing this big and this. And so you see these people coming out with seven containers of cola. Started getting a little bit mixed up. That's called mixing government into our lives a little bit too much, right? So I get a Bloomberg poll, and it wasn't even bad. I'm in second place. Hey, I know 14 other candidates would love to be in second place. But I said I don't believe the poll. But nevertheless, it came out. Now, nobody covered that I have 48 in Massachusetts. Nobody covered that the biggest poll of all, the Washington Post, ABC, and I wouldn't say they're in love with me, that I'm at 32 and killing everybody. And don't forget, when you say 32, when you have 15 people and you have 32, who gets 32? I'll tell you, you know what? As a poker player, as any kind of a card player, I'll take that hand right now and never, ever lose. Ever. You know, when I started out, before I announced I was running, my wife said, you know, I have a wonderful wife, Melania, and I have a wonderful daughter, Ivanka. Wonderful. But my wife said, you know, darling, if you run, you're going to win, don't you? I said, what are you talking about? She said, people love you, and they want your toughness, and they want your they want you to help. The country's going to hell. They want you to help. And I said, well, I don't know. I don't like to think about it. So before I ran, nobody thought I was going to run. And a poll came out where I was at 3. Think of it. I was like all these guys. But that's because nobody thought I was going to run. But then I announced I was running. Then I filed this incredible financial statement, which I'm proud of. I might have filed it even if I didn't run. I was actually going to file my financials even if I wasn't going to run, because it takes guts to run. Let me tell you, it takes guts. Not easy. You understand. Look at that guy. He looks like he's rich, but you understand what I mean. It takes guts. I've got a lot of really wealthy friends, and they're saying, man, how do you do that? That takes guts. I could never. It's very interesting, but it takes guts. So every week, a new poll would come out. So I went from 3 to 6, and every time I went up, they say, well, that's his plateau. He's got those people, but that's his plateau. You know, the talking heads, most of whom are incompetent, and really, I mean, these people are, and they're angry. They're so angry at me because I proved them so wrong. They're so angry at Trump. They hate me. But the talking heads would say, well, so I'm at 6. Well, I could see how I got to 6, but you know that's a plateau. Then I go up to 12 the next week. Well, you know, that's a plateau. Then I go to 18. Then I go to 20. Then I actually had one last week that was 41. I said, I'll take that plateau. I don't want to do any more polls. But every week I was at a plateau. So what happens, and it's incredible, we go out, we do the polls, but last 2 days ago, a day ago, I get these 2 polls. Remember, I don't believe them. I don't believe them. In Iowa, one place, and I love Iowa. And look, I don't have to say it. I'm Presbyterian. Can you believe it? Nobody believes I'm Presbyterian. I'm Presbyterian. I'm Presbyterian. Boy, that's down the middle of the road, folks, in all fairness. I mean, Seventh-day Adventist, I don't know about. I just don't know about. But, so I'm Presbyterian, I get these polls, and I'm losing by a little bit. So, headlines all over the place. For 2 days, headlines. Trump losing in polls. I just want in fact, I have like this great memory, but there's so many that I'm winning, I wanted to write them down because I want all of them. And many more that I didn't write. I'm winning on everything, every national, but for some reason I had a bad week in Iowa, which I don't believe. The headlines today all over Fox and CNN and everything. Trump losing in polls to Carson. Carson. I don't think Carson's going to negotiate really well with China, folks, in all fairness. Okay? I don't think so. And I like him. I don't think so. Because it's not about like. You know, people come up to me, do you think you're a nice enough person to be president? I said, you know what? I'm a nice person, but it's not about niceness. It's about super competence because, man, we are getting killed. We are getting killed. So all over. Now, had I won Iowa, it wouldn't even be mentioned. Believe me. It wouldn't even be mentioned. There would be no story whatsoever. Nobody wrote that I was 48 in Massachusetts. Nobody wrote anything or very little about South Carolina, New Hampshire, all of these other places that I named. Practically nothing. And I knew it because they are so bad. They are so disgusting. I know it. Not all of them, but 70%. No, they're so dishonest, the media. So what happens is I get up this morning and I say, whoa, that's incredible. So you have Bush with a failing campaign. He's got no money. He's got no votes. He's way down in the polls. You got Rubio doing poorly, and he sweats like a dog. You got Carson. I don't know what the hell's going on there. I don't get it. I don't get it. And then I read in the Wall Street Journal, again, look how little these pages. You know, if you did it this way, if you read it this way, it's a tabloid. It's true. So I see in the Wall Street Journal, right up front someplace, where the hell is it? Yeah, right here. Right, look at this. So incredible. Right up in the front. Can you believe it? Look at this. How Trump and Bush aren't doing well. So we have unlimited money. We're winning every state. In one state, and by the way, I have other polls in Iowa where I'm leading, but I have a couple of polls, quick ones, came out, and they're talking about Bush and Trump. This is the worst stuff. So I said to my people, so anybody want a Wall Street? Very dishonest. But they don't like Trump. But what I'm trying to say, and I think we're saying it, is the press is very dishonest. They're so dishonest. I had another case the other day, and I talk about it. I was on Meet the Press, Chuck Todd. Can you believe I saved his job? I was going after him so badly. You know what I was saying, because he treated me very unfairly. And in all fairness, he's been he's been very nice. So I'm leading in every category. This is 2 weeks ago. And he said, would you ever quit the race? And I said to myself, what kind of a question is that? You know, when you're leading, why is he asking? But I thought I'd give him an honest answer. I said, you know, Chuck, if I started going down in the polls big, and if I didn't have crowds like this, 20,000 people, the owner, who's a great guy, and his family just told me it's a record, it's over 20,000 people. So if I didn't have crowds like this, if I didn't have any gravitas, if I wasn't doing well, if you wouldn't be calling me to do interviews, which is like every 2 minutes they call me, then I would certainly consider leaving the race. And I thought it was a very good answer. The next day, Trump considering leaving race. I didn't say that. And then I watched these guys who are professional politicians, because don't forget, I've only been a politician for 3 months, thank God. Okay. So I watched these guys who are obviously in the race for no more than a week, maybe a few days. I watched a couple of them. I mean, I watched Rand Paul. He used to be a nice guy. Then he tried to hit me because he thought, you know, he'd get a couple of more points because he went down like a rock. But I watched him this morning. No, I'm staying in the race. I watched other guys. Some of these guys have zero. Will you leave the race? Absolutely not. I'm in it till the end. You know they're going to be gone in a couple of days. And I said to myself, isn't it sad when to be a politician, you basically have to be dishonest? Think of it. It's pretty sad. So we are doing well. We're at actually, I think, our highest point, or just about our highest point. The Reuters poll shows we're I think just about our highest point from the beginning of the campaign, 32. And we have some that are higher than that. But I have to tell you something. I am having, because people ask me the question, and actually most people say he's having fun. And I am. I'm having fun. I'm having fun. I'm having fun. A very rich friend of mine said, how do you speak like that without teleprompters? Don't forget, I don't have teleprompters. Obama doesn't speak without teleprompters. And he speaks, and he reads, and he reads. Hillary Clinton. No, Hillary Clinton the other day, she was outside, and the sun was hitting her. She had the biggest teleprompters I've ever seen, and they were painted black on the back. I've never seen that. Usually, at least it's clear glass. I mean, you see them, but you see through it, right? These teleprompters were black. They were massive here and here. I'm trying to say people can't even see the candidate. And I said we should pass a law, and I'm only kidding. Somebody said he was serious. That if you're running for president, you shouldn't be allowed to use teleprompters, okay? You shouldn't be allowed. Because look what we just got. We just got a teleprompter president. But a friend of mine came up to me, just, do you use teleprompter? I said, no. Do you use prepared speech? I said, no. He said, how do you speak before all these people with sometimes 7 or 8 live cameras on? Look at these guys. Look at the cameras there. They're going crazy. And they don't know when to turn off. Because if I hit CNN or if I hit Fox, all of a sudden, we're going to commercial break because they know when I'm getting ready, right? We're going to commercial break. They have to do it quickly. But he said, how do you do that? And I said, honestly, it's easy because there's love. There really is. There's love in these audiences. And it's true. It's true. It's true. And this is a very, very successful guy, worth billions of dollars, actually. And he said, I don't know how you do it. I said, no, it's really easy because there's love in these audiences. And not just here. Here is great, no matter where we go. Last night at Doral, it's Miami. We had probably an audience of 80% Hispanic. They were just like you. They were going wild. They were loving it. They were loving it. And I didn't want to mention the wall because I want to be, I'm like I figured, no. I figured maybe. This is what happened last night. So, being a great diplomat, I decided that Miami, mostly Hispanic. I have thousands of employees who are Hispanic. Over the years, I've hired thousands, and they're great. But, you have to be intelligent. So I'm in Miami. I could see it's a largely Hispanic crowd. So I'm getting toward the end of the speech. Everyone's having a great time, and it's hard to have a great time when everything's negative, right? I mean, we don't have one positive thing to say except hope. That's the only thing. We have great hope. We have great potential. But we lose with everybody. And yet we all have a great time because that's what they're looking for. But I'm toward the end of the speech, and somebody, Hispanic, shouts out, Mr. Trump, what about the wall? And the audience went crazy. They want the wall. They're all Hispanic. It's amazing. They want the wall. Wasn't reported, but that's okay. But the person, and I said last night, some of you might have seen it was live on a lot of the televisions. I said last night, do you want me to talk about the wall? I'm a little bit, tentative. Do you want me to talk? They're all screaming, yes, we want the wall. Because people, including the Hispanics that are here legally, they don't want people coming into our country illegally. It's as simple as that. And then I have, the criticism I get. I mean, think of it. The criticism I get is so incredible from people that 10 years ago all wanted a wall. I'm getting articles because I love to do this. We get ready for the opponents. I'm starting to think about it. And if you look back 10 years and 12 years ago, many of the biggest people against the wall, it's not humane. The wall's not humane. It's okay for people to come in our country illegally. It's okay for Kate to be brutally killed in San Francisco by somebody that comes in. Think of that. Somebody that comes in 5 or 6 or 9 times, they don't even know, and shoots her in the back, this incredible woman. They think it's okay for a veteran, 2 weeks ago in California, 66-year-old veteran, female, to get raped, sodomized, and killed by an illegal immigrant. They think that's okay. They think it's okay. And let me tell you something. Walls work. They work. My wall works. My wall works. That's a Trump wall. That's a good wall. That's a wall as high as that building right there. That's a wall that works. And, you know, then they say, oh, it'll be too expensive. So the Great Wall of China, right? Pretty big. We learned about that. It's 13,000 miles long. Think of it. 13,000. That's called a serious wall, right? It was built 2,000 years ago. It's 13,000 miles long. Our southern border is 1,900 miles long, of which half of it you don't have to build because you have natural barriers. You have barriers that are natural, you know, like ridges and things that, frankly, are as good as the wall or better. So we really need 1,000. We need 1,000 miles. So easy. Who's in the construction business here? Precast. Think of it. I do garages. I do a lot. The thing I do best is build. Hey, wouldn't it be great to have a guy who really knows how to build when we have to rebuild the infrastructure of our country? Unbelievable. So I see in one of the magazines, you know, we have little sections where there's walls. They'll have a wall that's like a half a mile long. Mostly they just go over it this high, 8, 9 feet. Did you see the picture where they built a ramp? Where they have a ramp going over the wall and they have trucks going back and forth over the wall carrying drugs? This is our walls. We're run by stupid people, folks. So just for because this is a good construction area, and precast plank, you know what that is? It goes forever. Where you do parking garages, where you do highway where it spans, you do those planks, you set them into foundations. That sucker could be 40 feet, 50. Nobody's going over it with a truck. And if they get up there, it's a long way down. There's nobody going through that wall. And we can do it very reasonably. And besides that, Mexico is going to pay for it. Mexico is going to pay. 100%. 100%. You know, I had a couple of these guys I'm running against. They know nothing about negotiation. Nothing. Zero. And they said, Mexico won't pay for the wall. I said, why do you say that? Because they won't. Well, I make deals all the time. I was telling them last night, I had a deal at Doral to buy it for $170 million. It was worth $400 or $500 a few years back. Then the market crashed. I made a good deal. I bought it for $170. Then I said to my daughter, Ivanka, watch. I'll get some money off the price. Now, I had a signed contract for $170. I go in, I see these beautiful looking people. The Wharton School of Finance, Harvard Business School, Yale, Stanford, like 6 of them. They were like from a movie. Better looking than Tom Cruise. I mean, you know. No, they were like from a movie. Suspenders. Always had the jacket off. You know, the suspenders. This is central casting. I said, watch this, honey. I'll pick up some money. Okay? So I go in. I say, fellas, I signed a contract at $170. The place is a shit house. You didn't tell me. You didn't tell me it was this bad. You didn't tell me it was this bad. You guys have defrauded me. And I'm not going to close. You got to have the contract signed to do this because there are about 30 people that wanted to buy it. You know, it's this massive acreage in the middle of Miami. It's not like, you know, it's really good stuff. So you got to have the contract. And I'm not saying this to be a wise guy either. Everything I say is because this is the kind of thinking our country needs. We need this sick thinking. Do you understand that? But I did it because I wanted to show off to Ivanka. And she was adorable. She said, what do you mean, Dad? We have a contract at $170. I said, just watch. So I said, you guys told me this and you told me that. You've defrauded me. I'm not closing the deal. Yes, you are. I'm not closing the deal. I'll offer you 100. They say, no way, we want 170. I said, that's okay, fellas. Bye-bye. And I picked up, walked out of the room. They called me back. See, that would have happened on the Iran deal if Kerry had the goddamn brains to walk out. Would have happened. It would have happened. So, this guy comes in, handsome guy, comes in, Mr. Trump, could we see you for a minute? I'm at the elevator. What? We'd like to talk. He comes in, he said, in front of the group, 6 guys, would you take 150? Would you pay 100? Now remember, the price was 170. Goes, would you pay 150 million? I just saved $20 million. Took me about 6 minutes. And I looked at Ivanka, I said, baby, we just paid for the furniture, right? Right? When you think of it, because, there was a line item, furniture, $20 million, I just paid. Now, and it's become a great deal. I did spend a lot of money and fixed it and made it great, and it's the #1 resort. I think it's the #1 resort now in the country, the Blue Monster. The Tour just renewed their tournament for 10 years, which they never do. They never do. And it's been a great deal. And I make good deals. And by the way, even when they're bad, I make them good. Because sometimes I'll make a deal, and it turns out to be bad because the market crashes. That's not my fault. I'll be building a $1 billion building. Everything's going great. The market crashes. I make a deal. Sometimes I make those deals better than the good ones. Because that's when you find out if people are good. When you can take something that should be good, turns out to be bad, and make it good. Do you know what I'm talking about? That's when you find out. That's when you find out if you're good. But I tell the Doral deal because we should be doing that with our country. China is making, we have an imbalance, a trade imbalance with China of almost $400 billion a year. Think of that. And then I see Obama last week, the heads of China. Think of it. Well, you can't say that right now. So we have a trade imbalance. And by the way, USA, when was the last time you saw, remember when we were all young growing up and we had a country where we actually made everything? Do you remember when it used to say made in the USA? When was the last time you saw a sign made in the USA? You don't see it anymore. If I win, I'm going to make it almost mandatory, meaning please do it. Made in the USA. It's true. And I'm just thinking to myself, because the great thing about having a great memory and being able to speak without, you can adjust your speech. Because I'm just thinking to myself, if you remember, especially the ones with a couple of years, like the guy with the white hair back there that's so enthusiastic, I love that guy. See this group over here? I see you. But those guys, they can tell you, when we had a sign that said made in Japan, and there were some of them, not many, that was a cheap goods, right? That was bad. No, it was considered inferior product. Now it's the reverse. But we don't even see signs made in the USA. I tell the story all the time about my friend. Japan is doing a very big number on us. They've devalued. They have Abe. We have nobody represent us. We have Carolyn Kennedy. You've heard that story. Carolyn Kennedy. Give me a break. Give me a break. Japan is doing great. Japan is devaluing the hell out of their currency. Did you see the report that just came out on Caterpillar Tractor? Well, I've been talking about this for 1 year, and I've been telling this story for 1 year. And I said, I think Caterpillar's in trouble. They came out with horrible numbers yesterday because I'm a natural business person. I know. What happens is a friend of mine's an excavator, and he was very depressed. And he was depressed. I said, what's wrong with you, Harold? And he said, I just bought Komatsu tractors from Japan, which are okay, but they're not as good as Cats, but they're fine. I said, why? You've always bought. He said, Donald, all my life, I bought Caterpillar tractor. And I'm so, the excavator, the big excavator. He's a big guy. But they gave me Komatsu and the country together, gave me a deal that I couldn't turn down. And I feel bad about it. But I owe it to my family, to my wife, to my company, to my employees to make the best deal. I said, I agree. But they did it through devaluation. Our new trade pact doesn't even talk about devaluation, and that's the #1 tool of how we're being taken advantage of in our country, is currency devaluation and manipulation. In China, in Japan, in Mexico, every country that's killing us, and we don't even talk about it in that horrendous trade pact that they're just signing now. We don't even talk about it. Somebody said, do you like it? I said, it's horrendous. Why can't they just put it off till I become elected? Believe me, it will not be that deal. Believe me. So it won't be that. So Caterpillar came out with very bad numbers yesterday. I don't care about Caterpillar, but, I like to see American companies do well. They came out with very bad numbers. And it was very interesting. And I've been calling it, you've heard me talking about this. How long have I been talking about Komatsu? People are buying Komatsu crap instead of Caterpillar. All because of currency manipulation. Everything. All because of, oops, we have a person. You okay? Yeah, help them out. Do you have a doctor? You okay? Good. You just take your time. Take your time. Just fainted. Tell her I love her the best. I love the women that faint when I speak. Those are the ones that love me. That's fine. We want to make sure they're fine. You okay? Oh, that's good. Beautiful. Give him a hand. Beautiful. That's great. Strong people. That's the kind of a guy I love. Thank you. Make sure he's perfect. I'd bring him up on stage, but he might not right now feel like it, right? All right. So, I've been talking about this for a long time. With China, you've seen what happened recently. Carl Icahn, a great businessman. Great. Tough, smart, great. He calls me. I want to help. I want to help. I have everybody calling me. I have the best in the world. We have the best in the world. We don't use them. We use political hacks. We use people that give campaign contributions. We use people that are involved with these horrible PACs. You know, yesterday, I don't know if you saw, but I wrote a letter. I disavow from all PACs. I don't want any money from PACs. I don't want any money. These guys are setting up PACs. But I also said that every candidate should disavow. Every candidate should disavow. And we're going to do that. And it's going to be a major point. As I said, it's going to be a major point. So, we're going to make our country rich again. A person said to me the other day when they heard me say that, oh, I don't know if that's very nice, using the word rich. You know, we have no choice. We owe $19 trillion. We're losing on every single deal we make. We've got Sergeant Bergdahl. This guy is a traitor. No, think of it. You see, even though it's a different thing, it's military. You know, in the old days when we were strong, you know what happens to Bergdahl? Bing, boom, he's gone. He's not even going to get jailed. Do you believe it? He was a traitor. Think of it. He was a traitor. Traitor. 6 young, incredible, beautiful people died looking for him. And they just announced he's not even going to get jail time. He has psychological problems. He's got psychological problems. Look at ISIS. ISIS cuts off heads. They cut off heads. They drown people. They shoot anybody they want. What they do to women is beyond belief. What they do to everybody is beyond belief. And I watched a general on television a very short while ago, month ago, and he was talking on television. And I said it last night at Doral. I said, why is my general talking on television? I don't want generals that talk. I want generals that know how to fight. It's true. I don't need talkers. We've got enough talkers in this country. Everybody's talk. Politicians are all talk, no action, nothing gets done. Nothing. And this general was asked by one of the commentators, what do you think of ISIS? When can we beat them? Can we do it quickly? No. It's going to be long. Oh, no. They have 60,000 people, by the way, 60,000. That we let happen because of the way we handled Iraq. You know, they came out of Iraq. And we let it happen. So they have, he goes, no, very tough. And I'm saying to myself, can you imagine General George Patton saying ISIS is going to be tough? Can you imagine General Douglas MacArthur saying, oh, gee, ISIS is going to be tough? We send military weapons. We send Humvees. I always tell the story. 2,300 Humvees to our so-called allies. One bullet gets shot in the air and our allies run, and the enemy ends up with, listen to this, 2,300. You know how many that is? I thought it was a mistake. I thought they meant 3 or 5. 2,000. How do you get them over there? One bullet. And these are the armor-plated ones. These are the ones that are really good. These are the ones that if our soldiers had them, you wouldn't have the wounded warriors to the extent you have. They'd have their arms. They'd have their legs. And you know who has them right now? ISIS and our enemies has it. They don't do equipment. They shoot a bullet in the air, and the people we give this stuff to, they just go in and take it, and they run. We don't know what we're doing, folks, and it's got to change. And the reason I always bring up Bergdahl, because he's garbage. He's garbage. He's garbage. And you know what? And frankly, you know, it's never politically correct even to say it. If I had my choice, I'd fly him right back into the middle of that zone. I'd drop him right on top of those. It's true. True. But with Bergdahl, he's emblematic of the way we negotiate. So we get a traitor, Bergdahl, who should be executed. We get a traitor, Bergdahl. And the other side gets 5 of the greatest killers that they've been after for 8 years. So we give them, who are right now back on the battlefield, killing everybody that's in front of them. And believe me, they want to kill you too, believe me. So this is the way we negotiate. The Iran deal, think of it, just think of it. Think of the Iran deal. 24 days to inspect. Now, why can't we say we want to inspect and you go in and you inspect? 24 days. And before the 24 days start, there's a whole legal process. So the 24 days could be much more than that. I guarantee you, I'd have that place so nice, so clean, so wonderful. I'd paint the floor battleship gray, right? Battleship gray. I love the concrete floor painted. Nobody's going to know what I'm doing. 24 days. Then they have another section where they can do their own inspections. They call it self-inspect. Do you believe this? Iran. Then you have, as Obama calls him, the supreme leader said, nobody, I'm not calling anybody a supreme leader. You know who my supreme leader is? My supreme leader is up there. It's true. I'm not calling anybody the supreme leader. Obama, the supreme leader, said. So we're in the middle of a negotiation, and the other side is dancing in the streets, calling the Americans stupid, saying we want to kill Israel and we want to kill America, and within 25 years, Israel won't exist and the United States won't exist. And Kerry keeps negotiating. Then he decides to go into a bicycle race, breaks his leg. Now, you ever see anything like this? He breaks his leg. Why is the guy in a bicycle race in the middle of the most important negotiation? Why didn't he walk? Why didn't he do the same thing I did with Doral? Walk and double up the sanction. They'd be calling you by the end of the week begging to make a deal. They were dying. Why didn't we do that? So with all of these problems with the deal, which is going to lead to total nuclear proliferation, but with all, as you know, we used to have 3 hostages, now we have 4. So they didn't want to put that in because they didn't want to complicate the deal. Do you believe both Obama and Kerry? We don't want to complicate the deal. We're giving them $150 billion, which is insane to give them money. We shouldn't give them anything. We should say, first day, by the way, the $150 billion, it's ours. Never going to be discussed. Don't ever bring it up. And we'll win. We'll win. So we've got 4 hostages. But at the time when we started this negotiation that took forever, did you ever see, we've got a lot of good business people here. Did you ever see a deal that took so long? You know, we're not sending a rocket to the moon. Did you ever see, this deal never stopped. It's still going on. But we're giving them this money. So we get 3 hostages, now we have 4. And I just heard now Iran wants to start a new negotiation for the hostages. So they want to do it. And here's what they want. And I watched this guy who's far too sharp for our people. I watched their chief negotiator. By the way, the Persians are great negotiators, okay? Somebody will say, that's not politically correct. We'll give them Hillary. You know, how about Hillary negotiating? How about that? Who would you rather have negotiating, Hillary or Trump? Oh, poor Hillary, poor Hillary. That's what we need. We need Hillary. Ay, ay, ay. You want to have a mess of a country? You want to have nothing but problems? You want to have a country that's going to go to hell? You have Hillary elected president. You're going to have a country that's going to hell. I'll tell you right now. So think of this. So Iran, Persians, great negotiators. The deal is done. They get everything they wanted. 100%. We folded on every point. We're giving them $150 billion. Now they have so much money, they're going to go and help with Syria. They're going to help Russia with Syria. They got money. Wait till you see. They don't need nuclear weapons. They can buy them. What the hell do they have to come? They'll buy them. So now you take all of this, and they call last week. We'd like to start talking now about the hostages. You believe this? They want 19 people for R3. The fourth is off the table because we're not giving you all four back. We want 19 people, and then he goes, and we want many other things. We want many other things. And that's why when I come around and speak, I have the biggest crowds by far, and that includes the communist Bernie Sanders. I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. I'll really be honest. I shouldn't say this. Say it. Do you believe this? By the way, I love this dais. This is the biggest thing that it's almost like I'm falling in bed. It's like the biggest thing. I'm 6'3", and I'm like, it's so comfortable. Would you rather run against Sanders or they call her secretary? Great secretary. Secretary Clinton. She was a great secretary. The world fell apart under her watch. Secretary. Now, every politician would say, it doesn't matter, whoever it is. Honestly, I'd rather run against Hillary. I'd really rather run against Hillary. I actually think, look, I shouldn't say this either, but I will. Do you mind? She's going crazy. Say it. So, he's given away too much. He may be hard to beat. He's given away everything. Free education. He's given away by the way, if you're an illegal immigrant under the communists, if you're an illegal immigrant, you get treated better than our veterans. You get treated better. He wants to give free education. He wants to give free medicine. He wants to give everything's free. There's only one problem. You're going to pay for it. It's called taxes. It's called taxes. But honestly, I told somebody last night, I did some of the shows, and I'm on Jake Tapper on CNN on Sunday at 9 o'clock. And I told him, I'd rather run against Hillary because her record is so bad that I don't know anything about this guy. This guy's a maniac. All he wants to do is, yeah, we'll give this, we'll give that. I mean, it's incredible. But I would rather run against Hillary. And the Benghazi thing was terrible, and she came out fine. But remember this, hundreds and hundreds of phone calls made by the ambassador for help. She didn't respond. She was unresponsive. You know why? She was sleeping. Or something. Or she was talking to her friends on her private email. But hundreds and hundreds of calls came out for help. And this guy died so bad. What they did to him was incredible. What they did to those 4 people was incredible. And with hundreds, I think they said 500 or 600 requests for help. Not one of them was even answered. But I said to this group yesterday, I would rather run against Hillary. I really would. I love it. Because based on that record, I don't know how you lose. I don't know how you lose. So we are going to make our military so strong that nobody's going to mess with us. We're going to take care of our vets, but really take care. We're going to stop illegal immigration. And we are going to build the wall, and it will be built, and it will be paid for by Mexico, believe me. We're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. With, by the way, something much better for you and for the country. Because if people realize Obamacare actually kicks in big league on 16. Now, he'll be out playing golf, and we're going to have a problem like you've never seen before. And you know the problem most of you have already with your premiums. So we are going to repeal it. We're going to replace it. I promise you our website will not cost $5 billion, and it will work. It will work. We're going to renegotiate all of these. Think about Doral. Think about Doral. That's the reason I told you that story. I don't care about that story. I don't care about that story. We're going to, at a minimum, renegotiate with Iran that horrible deal. I mean, we probably can't get our $150. We gave them $150 billion. How do I get it back? How do I get it back? But I'll tell you what. I'm not a big sleeper. I toss and turn thinking, and I think, and I think, and I think, and I think. Maybe I'm going to find a way. But it's gone. $150 billion is gone. They are going to be such a power. Our leaders, we don't have leaders, folks. We don't have leaders. I am going to renegotiate that deal. And when I use the word renegotiate, I use that word as a minimum. And I'm going to bring that deal back. You know, I've done that a lot. I take over somebody's deal. A friend of mine makes a bad deal. Loses his shirt. Wonderful. There's one in particular. Wonderful guy. He made a horrible deal. Good asset, everything. Horrible deal. The banks were killing him. Everybody was killing him. Everybody. He calls me, goes, I need help. I said, what's the problem? I call up his bank. I say, can you help him? I know the bankers. Can you help him? Donald, we don't want to do that. I said, he's a nice guy. He's over his head. He's dying. Help him. They said, we won't do it. I said, well, if you're not going to, I'm going to buy his company for nothing, and we're going to have a war. Well, I don't think that's very nice. I said, I don't really care. So they said they wouldn't do it. So I bought this guy's company for peanuts. I then immediately chaptered it. Oh, did I do a number on these banks? Oh, I made a great deal. And I helped my friend because I sold it back to him for much more than I paid for it, but still he was happy. Okay? But I do that. And I do that, and I'll take that Iran deal. As bad as it is, there's always something, even when you have incompetence like Obama and Kerry, there's always something in a contract that you can hang your hat on. That's what I do. There's always something. There's always something. And I will find it, and I will, believe me, I'll bring it back. I'll bring that sucker back. It would be a lot easier if they didn't make the deal. I kept saying, don't make it, don't make it. Just like I've been saying, don't make the trade pact. Don't make the trade pact. Let me do it. It's a year. Can you believe we're talking about a year? Can you believe it? You know, when I started really thinking about this, I thought about it seriously 4 years ago. Romney, oh, did he let us down? What happened to him? He choked. You know, he's very angry at me because I said he's a choke artist. I don't care. I don't want his endorsement. I don't want his endorsement. Endorsements don't mean a thing. And now he goes, well, Donald Trump is not a nice person. Who cares? The guy let us down. And I used to call them. I endorsed him. They asked me to help him. He let us down. He choked. No different than a guy standing over a 3-footer on the 18th hole, and he needs it to win a tournament, and he can't take the club back. His brain gets deadlocked. Jack Nicklaus, great. He'd always take it back, put the putt, boom, in the hole, in the hole. You have not many, but I mean, not many have that ability. Most people are joke artists. Well, he let us down. That's not going to happen again. McCain, in all fairness to McCain, he had a pretty hard deal going. You know, the economy was doing an El Crasho, right? So that way, we can't really blame McCain. But Obama should have been beaten the last time. So I backed McCain, and he lost. I backed Romney, and he lost. And I said, this time I'm doing it myself. We're not losing. We're not losing. So we're going to renegotiate, and we're going to do things with the Iran deal. Thank you. So we're going to do something with that Iran deal. We're going to make the best of it, folks. I'm not going to promise you the world, but I'm going to make it damn good. I'm going to make it better than anybody else could. And finally, we are going to renegotiate our trade deals. We are going to bring jobs back from China. We're going to bring jobs back from Japan. We're going to bring jobs back from Mexico. I tell the story about Ford. I respect the Mexican leaders. They're much smarter than Obama and his people. We have nobody that knows what they're doing. Ford's building a massive $2.5 billion plant. Nabisco just announced 2 weeks ago. Nabisco. They just announced that they're moving Oreos. My Oreos. Oh, I'll never have another Oreo. They're leaving Chicago. And they're going to open a plant in Mexico. I'm not eating that stuff anymore. And I'm not blaming Mexico because if they can get them, but why? How does it help for Ford? How does it help our country for Ford to build a massive plant to make cars and send them across the border, no taxes, no nothing? And I guarantee you, stuff like that will not be happening with me. I guarantee. And if it does, and I tell the story all the time, if it does, I'm going to call up the head of Ford and I'm going to say, folks, guess what? Congratulations on your plant. You are paying a 35% tax every time you send a car in. Because they're closing plants in Michigan and all other places in order to build this massive monster plant. It's not going to happen. And I guarantee you that by the end of the day, they call me back and they say, Mr. President, we're building the plant in the United States. I guarantee. And Nabisco's not leaving, and other people. We're going to fight to keep our jobs. We're going to fight against corporate inversions where they go out to get their money because they can't get the money back into this country. $2.5 billion, that's the legal fees. But they have probably $3 trillion offshore. And everybody agrees it should come back. The Democrats, the Republicans. For 3 years, it's $2.5 to $3 trillion money we could have here. Everybody agrees, and you know what happens? They can't make a deal. They can't make a deal even when everybody agrees. Nobody disagrees. Who's going to disagree? We want the money to come back here. We want to put that money to work here, jobs and everything else, and infrastructure. So there's total gridlock in Washington because there's no leadership. But there's a case, corporate inversion. Take a look. $2.5 trillion. Everybody agrees for years, and they can't even agree to that. So we're going to make great trade deals. We're going to make them fair. We're not going to lose almost $400 billion a year with China, $70 billion a year. It's not going to happen. When Japan sends us millions of cars and we send them practically nothing by comparison, not going to happen. We have all the cards. What people don't know is that I have the strong negotiating hand. We rebuilt China. What China did to us is the single greatest theft. It's the single greatest robbery in the history of the world. It's true. They took our jobs. They took so much money. China rebuilt China with our money. And I love China. They buy my apartments. They're great. They're getting away with murder. They know it. I'll get along with them fine. They're tenants of mine in buildings. They're great. But they're too smart. We have stupid people dealing with them. So I have the smartest people in the world. I have people that are the greatest deal makers in the world. They're going to represent us. They don't want any money. They just want to show everybody how smart they are to be. And that's okay with me. That's okay with me. So I have guys like Carl Icahn. I have so many others. We're going to be announcing other names. And they're all calling me. They want to help. They're not saying, I want $200,000. That's like they buy a candy bar for that. They want to make great deals for this country. They want to see the country be great just like you want to see the country be great. These are talented people. They all want to come. They all want to help. If I put Carl Icahn, as an example, in charge of trade just with China, because the China imbalance is so huge, it's so big, that if we straighten that out, we go a long way to straightening out our problems. If I take somebody like Carl, who endorsed me the other day, I love having an endorsement. See, that's an endorsement that means something. Because when I get the really smart people endorsing me, that means something. But when I take somebody like Carl Icahn, Carl, do me a favor, watch over trade with China. They're not going to be taken advantage of anymore. So here's the story. We're going to make our country great again. And remember this, the American dream will be back, bigger and stronger, I promise, than ever before. Ever. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.